lifestyles with the mobile phone. The mobile phone is where our lovers, send us messages. The mobile phone is where we laugh most of the times looking at some silly joke or a message. Now, this tacticality of this device as an extension of the ways we sense and perceive the world really becomes a critical question when we encounter the rumor via the SMS which comes from a friend, which may not have an authorial beginning, but certainly he has a trusted intermediary in the form of, let's say, a friend's network. How are we to make sense of this new transition where it's no longer the older idea of rumors and riots in the way that we've been accustomed to, but really a new picture of fear where bodily affects of fear are mediated constantly by these technologies? That's the first kind of point that I wanted to make about the phone. The second thing that I want to make is really in the idea of how do we think about the effect, the temporal effect of this new realm of fear on our experience of time. Because to my mind, the one thing that something like this does is that it freezes time. And here I have in mind, the entire anxiety and fear about weapons of mass destruction. In George Bush's second election, he talked about the fact that even though we had not found the weapons of mass destruction, the war was justified because there was a real threat in the past. Now this is a very strange thing, because the real threat that loomed in the past was of a futurity, of an event that could happen in the future. Now what happens then here is that the threat is not falsified but is deferred forever. And I think that this is something that we need to think about, because the effect of what happened in those 5 days and the breaking of the ordinary trust that people have with each other is not something that has already been condemned in the past. It's something that is now unfortunately condemned to the futurity. That this threat is always going to be looming, lurking, etc. And how do we kind of face the challenges of this? And I'll take my last minute to come to the last point that I want to make, which is that now we can think about this entire idea of what happened and the fact that it's over and talk about the return to normalcy. But if there's one thing that the week and the image of 40,000 people leaving in 3 days has opened to us as Bangaloreans, it's a question of what constitutes normalcy at all. That a large number of the workforce in the city consists of migrant workers from different parts of the northeast who are otherwise relatively invisible in comparison even to, say, the students from the northeast population, etc., only shows you that normalcy as we define it is underwritten by this extreme unequal distribution of what it may mean to experience the normal, etc., for a large number of people. There have been a number of statements saying, oh, well, northeast people live in ghettoized scenarios and that they need to enter the mainstream more often. I mean, as a normative aspiration, how can one disagree with this? Of course, everyone should mix with each other, etc. But beyond this lip service that we pay to Bangalore as a hospitable city, the real question that I would pose is that if there is someone who works 6.5 or 7 days a week for around 12 hours a day, what does integration into the mainstream actually mean? So, for the rumors to have had the kind of effect that they did, it is clear that what is opened out is really the fact of the vulnerability of a large section of the population. Rumors are not large monsters, they are little ones who require constant feeding on insecurities for them to grow. For a rumor to have the kind of power that they did, there has to have been a pervasive precarity that the rumor feeds on. And this precarity cannot be assuaged either by symbolic gestures, of which there were quite a few, or of the ideas of the regulation of media. That's one response that we've seen. So, if we are to return to the normalcy of daily life, for me, it's neither the crisis nor the grand gesture of hospitality that matters, but a certain investment in an idea of an everyday decency as a politics of dealing with multiculturalism, as an alertness to the dignity of others despite their difference from us. Speaking of the impact of violence on the community, Veerala says that repairing social relations is the delicate task of repairing a spider's web, something that takes a very long time to be made, and that can be broken very, very abruptly. And I think that the ethical challenge of the future might well lie in the question of how we are to address our collective kind of intersubjectivities, really as an act of investing in an injured body. Jane Austen in Northanger Abbey says that let's not abandon each other, we are an injured body. And I think that a month after the incident, we may safely say that despite the return to a certain kind of a veneer or normalcy, we are an injured body. The challenge for us is how do we repair ourselves. So I'll stop here for now. I have to really rush through a lot of the theoretical arguments for media, but maybe that'll come out in the discussion.
Thank you very much, Lawrence. This is the first time I've heard such an exhaustive analysis of the word rumor. I hope it's been as educative for all of you folks. I just wanted to thank the person who helped quickly translate Dinesh Kumar's speech. I'm going to summarize this. Very interesting actually. So, Mr. Dinesh, as I summarize your thing, if I make any mistake at the end of it, please offer your correction. Mr. Dinesh spoke on Kannada media. He said Kannada media actually promotes communalism, though it pretends otherwise. It creates this with indiscriminate reporting. In Hubli Belagavi, as some of you will know, this is actually northern Karnataka, police have arrested Muslims, suspecting them to be terror, and this was based on media reports, which were later proved to be fictional. This was also based on guesswork. Now, it had come to the point that the police commissioner then had to request the Kannada media to stop the fictional reporting. This is one aspect that he actually dwelt on. The other part of it is actually TRPs. It's partly the chase for ratings and the search for exclusivity of news that they create these kind of stories. Mr. Dinesh also spoke about his observations on social media. So he spent time on Facebook and he had the following to say. In Facebook, there are groups that are both right and left. There are also fundamentalists, even though they don't appear to be carrying knives. And one example he gave with respect to the Northeast Exodus was the post that was made, as most of you will know by now, by the Bhagat Singh Kranti Sena. The post which I have seen myself and also the Citizen Matters reporter who actually did the story for us, Abhishek Angal, is here. He also actually found the post. So this Sena had actually put a post saying, in the backdrop of the riots in Assam, some Muslim groups here in Bangalore had actually threatened that people from the northeast will be killed after Ramzan, and if they need help, that they can contact them. And the Bhagat Singh Kranti Sena had put their helpline on that Facebook post. Mr. Dinesh had contacted them, and he found out that the Sena had no evidence of this kind of threat, and yet they had gone ahead and posted this on Facebook. Also, the Kannada media in the city, he observes, had actually glorified the exodus of sorts, endorsed the rumors, and added to the panic amongst the people. Even so, after the exodus has happened, after the issues actually died down now, he has not seen that in the Kannada media there has been any detailed analysis to find out why it happened and what happened. So the initial reporting has happened, the exodus has happened, people have started coming back, and yet there's no, the media has left the issue and gone. Another observation he made was that the presence of the RSS volunteers in the railway stations, which all of you know, when they offered help to the people who were leaving, he observed that the people offering help were the RSS and not the police. And the observation is that this is actually a contradiction, because if they were really concerned about the northeastern people, then they should have offered support to I.M. Sharmila when she was doing, as you know, she's been on fast for a very long time. So actual support for causes of the northeast has not come from the RSS, and instead it came out here. That, he says, is actually a contradiction. And to conclude his remarks, the media actually glorifies, and there is no in-depth approach to the stories. It is still broadly TRP driven, and as of today there is no accurate and in-depth objective account of what really happened. This is his observation on the local media here. Thank you, Mr. Dinesh. So I will now open the floor for interaction. A few quick announcements. Please keep your question down to 1 minute. If you are making an observation and not asking a question, I would still request you try to keep it down to 1 minute, because we've gone over time and we'd like enough time for interaction. I'd like to invite Sudipto to actually make an intervention now. He was supposed to be here earlier. Is he here? Before we start the interaction. Mr. Sudipto? Can you speak for a minute or two? Please come. Yeah, I mean, you need to introduce yourself as well. Please come.
Much for the introduction. I am Sudip Tomar. I work with the Hindu. I am a reporter. I just make 3 quick points because, but by virtue of not having, I'm not saying coming from an academic perspective, I'm not bringing an academic perspective to this discussion. I was there on the ground covering the events, and that's why I want to make these 3 quick points. For starters, the role of the media and how it could have perhaps done better than it did, and could things have been done differently. Now, which brings me to this. To the memory of this friend of mine back in Bangalore, that's why I said report earlier. He was a lawyer by profession, and when everything that went wrong, and a lot of things have gone wrong as you're aware in the last 5 years as this government has been in place, every time something would go wrong, like for example, when the mining issue was making headlines, the media failed. That friend of mine would say, the media failed. Why did the media fail? Well, we didn't catch it on time. The commercial taxes department did not fail, the forest department did not fail, the minister, district HR minister did not fail, the media failed. Now everything that happened, like for example there was an attack on women at a pub, that also was supposedly the fault of the media. It is you people who encourage these guys by giving them coverage. If there were no cameras, the attack wouldn't have happened, really. I mean, if you've read the Hindu, if you've been reading the kind of reportage that has been coming out of the coastal districts, you would know that with or without the camera, the attacks, the targeted attacks, continue. Now, the intention with which we report is that, with the hope really that, our reportage would wake people up, people such as yourself, people in positions of authority. But no, this friend of mine would always argue that no, it is because of the media. Media's role is what is the most problematic over here. So this guy had 2 children. He had a third by mistake. And I said, don't blame me. We didn't do it. Not everything happens because of the media. And I want to make this point because now what happened in those few days when the people from the northeast left the city is a jumble in my mind because I don't know when I slept, when I woke up. We were running to the spot, we were running to the railway station. Now what I remember very clearly though is on the day that people left, that was the day that the media took note of what happened. Now, almost a week, 10 days before that exodus, that evening, where there were two or three special trains that headed out, I, for one, a lot of other reporters were getting information that there is trouble brewing, and dutifully we would go and inform our editors, and the collective decision would be taken to not do anything about it right now. Because what were people coming to us and telling us? I'm feeling scared. Okay, so how is that news? But when people talk about the media as this faceless, mindless, people-less entity, that's when it kind of gets my goat, really. Because we are thinking individuals too. We have a certain sense of proportion, a certain. And most importantly, we are entitled donkeys, So we are not going to just because somebody comes and tells us that we are feeling scared, someone was attacked. Who was attacked? We ask these questions. And all of us collectively on that this particular incident, be it the Times of India, be it the Vijay Karnataka, be it any newspaper. If you notice, there was absolutely zero reportage before that evening when 70,000 or 50,000 or 40,000 people left the city. That's when we were forced to take note of it because we realized that had we done it earlier, if we started giving